My compost pile. I made a ton of biochar a couple months back. You can kind of see some of it still in the ground here. Used the tractor to shovel it up in this pile. We have thousands of pounds of cat poop in here. Something we have plenty of. And there's also a bunch of arugula in here. Kind of went crazy last year. And just grew everywhere. I had like 20 truckloads of the stuff. So I just buried it in here. And it's got a bunch of sand mixed in. So over time, that cat poop and other nutrients will work its way into the biochar, which is just charcoal. It's activated charcoal. And we'll plant in this. And then that will hold nutrients and it'll slowly release it. It also holds water, which is extremely important out here in these dry areas. My neighbor brought over this tank for me. I believe it's an oil tank for project truck he's working on, and one of the hose fittings has broken off, so he needs me to weld it for him. This is kind of where I think about the skills that we're going to need to have moving forward. You know, there's a lot of channels on YouTube about how to be a master welder, and when you're working in industry, this is, you know, really kind of where you need to be. But if you want to be able to survive on a homestead, or, you know, after a societal collapse, or even just when society isn't functioning like you're used to, we're going to need to know how to have skills. In the old days, even back when we had doctors and lawyers and everything else, you know, they'd go home on the weekend. And, you know, they'd do woodworking projects. They'd go in the garage, they'd build furniture, they'd work on cars. This has kind of been lost. Society expects you to just kind of be a master at one thing and, you know, pay people to do everything else for you. We're going to need to have our technical skills, but we're also going to need to have our social skills, and we're going to need organization skills. So learn how to do something. I mean, it's good if you know how to do a little bit of everything, but, you know, get good at woodworking or metalworking or mechanics or, you know, construction. You know, they're all good skills to have. I haven't welded stainless steel in a very long time. This solar flux stuff here, it's pretty nice if you can't back purge what you're welding. It basically provides like a glass type protective layer over the stainless steel so it doesn't get oxidized real bad. You just mix it with a little alcohol. Normally you use methanol. I didn't have any. I used some isopropyl, but it should do the job. Just put a little bit on each side. Gonna have to make sure I get the rod cleaned up, and looks like my tungsten's seen better days, so go run this over to the belt sander, get it cleaned up. It looks a lot better. Our society is actually a pretty new construct, and actually becomes more fragile by the day. If we look at our grocery stores, they only store about 3 days worth of food total in them. And, you know, they like to say that the difference between chaos and society is 9 meals. If anything was to happen to our power grid, or we ended up in a war, or a whole number of anything, it doesn't take a whole lot of disruption to throw a monkey wrench into everything we've become used to in society. Pretty much everything I know how to do, I learned because I just couldn't complete the task unless I learned how to do it. And you just really have to remember that experience is something you get right after you need it. There are more free resources available online than this world has ever known. And there's so much cheap equipment available if you ever want to learn how to weld or any other task. There's a pretty low barrier to entry to get started on a new, hobby or craft. The best time to learn these skills was before you needed them. The next best time is now.